The gaming community is honestly brilliant. A lot of new ideas come out which expand fan bases. People gather around online to take on the greatest challenges. Daily videos about the game are made by creative people, a very own esport dedicated to a certain game, and people taking it a further extent to form friendships, love, or even a bond between the community. There's nothing bad about them. Until the news makes a huge fucking deal about it. Oh, mate! I don't know if it's just Australia in general, whether we're all too sensitive about a topic on something, or if something else happens, whether we hear or see something that goes on. The Facebook pages usually light up like a fucking Christmas tree, all the comments regarding if their children done this, or I'm a father of 3 and this makes no sense, with no real big point to the obvious strategy. To give a teardown on what is happening, Australian news recently discovered Fortnite. Yeah, that's not a joke. And for the past week, it's been circulating everywhere on how bad it is and how violent it is for kids and teenagers alike.
The violent video game Fortnite is designed for teenagers.
What's happening?
But is being widely played by younger children like Michael, who is 11.
Yeah, you have to make sure no one kills you.
So you have to kill others.
You shoot them, and then they just fall to the ground and die. It's not as brutal.
That's not brutal?
I wouldn't say brutal.
This has gone on that parents are doing something about this craze of the free game. But this isn't the first time. Then we go to show other footage such as Breath of the Wild and Grand Theft Auto, all these games which are being targeted for being too violent. Which is a horrid shitful lie, because all these games are extremely popular as well as highly played. Breath of the Wild, Game of the Year in 2017, with the release of Nintendo Switch. Grand Theft Auto 5, bestseller in 2012 for its blockbuster achievement. Fortnite, because it's popular in the subgenre of gaming, and something to target. Now, it's not the first time either, because we've had this thing happen back in the 1990s with all the other consoles coming out, and again in 2012 when Grand Theft Auto 5 was released. This game was actually revolutionary when it came to life. Within a few days actually, news reported this game for being too violent, and there was a petition which actually went through to stop selling the game in other retail stores such as Target and Big W. No one was allowed to sell this game, so if you went to Big W when Dick Smith was around, JB Hi-Fi, no one was allowed to sell this game because Australia was too fucking sensitive. But here's the argument, because there's a reason I make these bloody videos, and it's to prove a point and give my 2 cents. Are people on the news idiotic to realise that these games aren't even violent? Like, I'm not going to dare to say, yeah, these games are quite violent, but for what they're actually pushing it against, it's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, pretty much. Grand Theft Auto 5 has got its R rating for a reason. It's got more than one thing to make it stand out. It's got drugs, swearing, sex, which are all in the level of balance to make it an R-rating game. And the thing is, I don't really call this news. I call this just trying to milk out as much money on advertising as you can. If it was news, you'd be seeing the exact same thing happening with the movies when people complain about them. Was there any controversy regarding Deadpool that millions saw? No? No? Did anyone give a fuck about Deadpool? No? Didn't think so. But Xeno, I'm a parent who believes the news is always right. It's always got the information. I know how to raise my kids. You need to shut up. Roll fucking roll. Shut up. The news needs to conduct a little bit more research rather than going to one person regarding to it. So here's the thing. Why target this game, which has started just to hit popularity now? Back in Overwatch when it made its debut, the game went off seeing 7 million active users worldwide. But the news article didn't seem to give a shit about that, even though it was the same rating as Fortnite. But Xeno, it's got guns and killing people, and there's a difference. This is why you have the classification rating. It's there on the box to say if it's got violence, or if it's got swearing or sex or drugs in it. You uneducated dickhead. Go look at Doom. It's got killing of fucking demons in them and ripping them up with a chainsaw. Bayonetta, you play as a girl who uses her hair and gets nearly fully naked just to bash the shit and decapitate angels. And Killing Floor 2. Well, Killing Floor 2 is fucking amazing with the amount of gore it has. This is what separates between violent video games and what Australia sees as violent video games. Either Australia are too sensitive or just a bunch of pussies in general. Can't tell what's bad or what's good. In Australia, we have our classification ratings, kind of like Peggy 18 and everything else in America. If we go to compare Fortnite with Breath of the Wild and Doom with how violent these games are, we'll actually see a huge difference. So ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Australian Classification Rating Board on Australia's beautiful website. Determines what type of games are rated and what they actually have in them. And the thing is, if you are a parent, you can go and look this up. You have access to the internet. So let's start comparing. Breath of the Wild obtained an M rating for its moderate impact on violence and themes, which is a fair call because it's full of medieval fantasy themes, killing monsters and such. Then we go look at Doom, which is a brutal game, ripping demons to shreds, blood, guts. Deserves the R rating for being too violent. Then we go look at Fortnite, and holy crap, it receives the same rating as Breath of the Wild, and holy crap, it receives the same rating as Overwatch as well.
But you can still kill people and it's too violent.
Fucking shut up! You go look at movies which have got killing people in it. You go look at sports which have got people bashing the living shit out of each other until they dislocate their arm or a lot of blood shows up. Is there any difference? No. Go look at the ratings. Now there's a video online saying that Australia could possibly ban Fortnite. The problem is that's stupid. If they were to ban that, that would be illogical reasoning. It still follows its guidelines, it's still within its classification rating, and at the same time, people just need to harden up and grow a set of balls. Like you go watch your movies. Hey look, there's blood and guts, is it offensive? Yes. But is it within the classification ratings? Yes. Shut up. Now, it doesn't stop there. The news report even went on further to say a person who specializes in gaming sees the effect of this, how it affects most kids growing up to their adolescent stage, with their most vulnerable if they have ADHD or an anxiety or depression.
Dr. Philip Tam is a child and adolescent psychiatrist who specialises in gaming. He says adolescents with conditions like ADHD, anxiety or depression are most vulnerable.
Run, get the loot chest.
Another big problem is playing to excess of their real-world activities. So there's a detriment in their schooling, in their healthy sleeping pattern, and in the general things of healthy family.
I can probably say, yeah, that's true, depending on how they intake it and everything, but at the same time, that's bullshit. I actually had most of these traits. I had depression and anxiety, but I didn't have any sign of ADHD or ADD. But at the same time, I could say that's actually bullshit. It hasn't affected my personal life. It hasn't affected the way I've done things. I played a lot of games such as Ninja Gaiden and Halo, which were actually pretty worse at the time. Well, a little nothing has happened to me, but nothing affecting my personal traits. While I've covered video game addiction in the past, I have no one to blame except the parents. Regardless what the news says, parents will always believe that the news is always right and do some sort of action which will never happen to their kids. These type of stories have happened so much that no one actually gave a fuck 2 days later. Now, I have mentioned that video game addiction is real. It can be really hard to get rid of sometimes, and the effects of some people and how they react can be really undetermined. But as far as going to say that these people are more likely to suffer these traits, are going a little bit too extensive with false information. And the thing is, there are a lot of articles that mention violent video games cause people to be violent. Well, actually, some research has suggested that youth with more aggressive personalities may seek out violent video games. However, violent video games do not increase assaultive behavior among such youth. Even going further, studies of youth suggest that violent video game exposure does not mean fully predicting of youthful aggression or violent crimes in their future. The internet is making up this bullshit. It's not even real news. So with this professional saying that all these traits do something with video games and their children, it's actually wrong, because the study was conducted back in 2015, and even further study is proving that other cases such as the Florida shooting in 2018, where it was a mental condition rather than any form of video game violence. And the problem is, a lot of people are going to blame video games because of this. But here's a theory for you. Hey, how come our social life is so shit? Is it Facebook? Nah, we're not going to worry about that. Is it because we're on Twitter all the time? Nah. Is it because we can't talk to people because we're always addicted to reading what's on the fucking screen? Nah. We're not going to cover that in news. That's nothing to be worried about, mate. Now this is a little bit of an advice. Video game consoles are coming with a time restriction built into their system today. But even then, it's best that you talk to your child in regards to what games that they like or what games they want to be playing. An Xbox or PlayStation isn't going to distract your kids. It's another form of interest which you or your kids could have. A lot of parents are blaming developers for making these games which are taking away their life. Then I just go look at yourself and say, hey, what about all the seasons of The Walking Dead you've watched? Isn't that something that's addictive? Isn't that something you'd like to watch? But this is a little thing for my viewers who are parents. When was the last time you sat down with your child to ask what game they were playing, or what it was about, or what type of games they like to play? Sort of like, what type of movies do you like? What do you want to watch next? You want to go to the movies and watch the new movie that's coming out that you really like? Where are all the parents in all this? If you're angry at your child for playing a game, fucking talk to them. Don't yell at them. And if you wonder why the news makes this bullshit, because people don't know how all this technology works, and you don't even spend the time to consult with the child. That concludes today's topic. Make sure you leave a comment down below on what you'd like me to talk about next, and make sure you subscribe for more content. Social media links will also be down in the description below. So let's go for a like goal. If I can get 10 likes, I'll smash my computer, and I'll replace it with an iMac. For now, I'm XenoGenic, and I'll see you in the next video.